I ran the fuck out. And then he even said, that officer over there, that he saw me running in the street because I was fleeing the scene. I was completely trapped inside of the building. I did no assisting whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know why, but officers seem to have this belief that if you're there, then that means you're guilty of something. That's not how that works. And
yeah, I did not do anything. If the female officer, I mean, you know, I hope she makes it, because she definitely got shot. I think she would probably attest that I didn't do anything, nor did I say I was trying to clock in.
Did you drive Did you drive a police car or anything like that?
No, I was in the police car, 100%.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't count then. That's not an accomplice. Yeah, that doesn't count. All right, yeah, I just advise you to plead not guilty to all charges here.
Okay, bench trial or?
Yeah, for a bench trial, if there's a judge available, absolutely. I'm not sure if there is one, but if that's not the case, then no contest would be the plea.
Okay, we could do that.
Yeah, but this shouldn't be a hard one, yeah.
I feel like if a judge heard this, they would throw it out.
Absolutely, and that's. I had another cop that did this actually just last night as well. They're like, oh, there's a passenger in the vehicle that makes them accomplice to stealing the car. That's not how that works.
Vehicle charge. I don't care. I don't want. This guy shot 4 people. I didn't have anything to do with that, and I tried to leave the scene.
Yeah, I don't think you're guilty of anything here. You were just kind of there in the wrong place. You may have, been a little bit more wanting to get yourself involved, but you didn't actually help in any way. So that's what's the important part for our accomplice.
People, man, I'm not built like that.
Yeah. So maybe I can talk with the ADA and they'd be willing to drop the charges, but we'll see what happens, because I know that they also.
I think if nothing else, try bench trial, and then if nothing else, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Weird. We don't got no fucking cop named Mr. Rash. That's a silly ass name.
Well, she told me all I had to do was clock in, motherfucker. I followed her, and then they locked me in there.
Oh yeah,
and I started freaking out and scratching my neck, motherfucker. And I warned them. I said, I gotta get the fuck out of here, motherfucker. You gotta unlock that door. And they were like, no.
These are requesting a bench trial.
I started blasting.
Hey, is that a judge available?
Yeah, I am a rapper.
Almost certainly not. I'll check on the radio.
I got you, baby. Here we go.
Is there a judge available?
Didn't do anything.
Send it.
I'm about to rap right now, motherfucker. That's crazy. You didn't know I was a rapper? I'm famous.
I think all troopers are currently tied up. I'm processing the 2 people from Rockford.
There's no judge available right now.
Okay. So that changes the plea to no contest if you want to do that.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I didn't do anything, so yeah.
I mean, you are an accomplice. You know what accomplice means?
Aiding and abetting.
Agree to disagree.
It says, assist others to commit a crime, to conceal a crime, or to prevent the apprehension of the suspects for a crime.
Did he do any of those?
No, I didn't.
You assisted, you got into a
I didn't
cruiser.
assist.
He assisted stealing the car by getting into it?
You're not a trooper. Yes, you did. You arrived at Rockford PD. You also attempted to get into the car, as other troopers saying so. So, you saying that you didn't?
That'd be fair to combine most.
Witness testimonies.
Is
Regardless, it's gonna be a no
trooper,
contest plea. I'm assuming.
Did the female trooper, is she doing okay? Because I'm sure she would be able to explain everything. 'Cause she saw me with my hands up trying to leave, but she decided to lock the PD, making it unable for me to leave the scene.
They were. I ain't gonna lie. They were useless for the longest time, but they definitely helped your ass at the end.
That is not my fault
The other guy.
to be stuck in a building that I do not have keys to.
Yeah, you probably should.
Right. It is your fault to get into a police cruiser, drive to RPD, and then follow.
Did not
everyone
drive,
else.
nor did I assist in the assaults or whatever the charges are. I had my hands up the entire time and I tried to leave.
Okay, bye, motherfucker. Yeah. Hey, I ain't gonna lie.
All right.
Other dudes are random. I was just giving them a ride.
Gonna speak to the trooper 1 second.
I'm getting all your charges, Rat.
Oh, is that the guy?
Saying again,
I'm so confused.
They just want to. So cops, they really don't like arresting someone and not charging them with anything.
I'll take a charge. I don't really give. I didn't
You didn't do anything though. You didn't.
assault 4 people. Yeah, but I mean, I don't give a fuck. I'll give them a W. I don't give a shit. Getting put in fucking.
Don't just take a
4
charge. Take a charge.
assaults?
There's no reason to do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's sometimes what police will do is they will overcharge you so that you will plead down to lesser charges. That sort of thing.
Oh hell no! I didn't do anything.
I don't think that's what they're doing in this
Trespassing.
instance, but I do think it's a little bit much for you to charge you with accomplice to all that. That's way too much.
Yeah, I literally like lawyer-client confidential. I genuinely tried to leave.
Did you have a
Yeah,
gun on
they
you
locked
at
the
all or anything like
PD.
that?
Huh?
Did you have a gun on you at all or anything like that?
No, no.
No, how are they? I have no idea. How could
I
he
don't
possibly?
know. I literally they locked the PD. Like like I said, the female officer in the shed. I literally had my hands up. She will attest to that.
All right, sir. I'm gonna be sending you up now at no contest plea for the 4 times accomplice of aggravated battery, 1 times aggravated and theft auto, and 1 times vigilantism. That's gonna be 152 months in jail, $5,265
Vigilantism?
in fines. You plea no contest. Is that correct?
I'm gonna go check on Island.
What was the vigilantism from?
For them attempting to say that they were troopers and wanted
This
to
is
clock in.
asinine. That's actually crazy.
And it being in the possession of a stolen cop car.
Well, isn't vigilantism like stopping a crime, not like pretending to be officers?
No,
I
it's
didn't-
pretending
I
to
didn't
be
even do
law
either of
enforcement.
those.
Acts as a law enforcement without appropriate authority.
Exactly.
Yo.
Oh, my bad. I wasn't where
Ratchet.
the definition
Oh, I
was.
randomly keep crashing,
Uh,
motherfucker. Now I can't
All
move.
right.
Vigilantism?
Is there anything else you wish to tell me before I send you up?
Lawyer, how do I get in contact with you so we can sue them?
Do you know the on the phone there is the you go to your favorites, you'll see the lawyer line right there, and you can call me from there.
I know I don't actually. Oh fuck. I know I don't actually have my phone, but if I did, what do you mean favorites?
So you know when you go to call people, you go in there and you see
Uh-huh.
the favorites. What you would see the favorites icon there, and then you would see
Oh. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Gonna be sending you up now. You,
Thanks for protecting and
be-
serving. I feel very protected right now.
well, yeah, okay.
You're gonna be in the most safe facility after this,
I
so,
feel so
I'm sure you
protected.
do.
All right. You're gonna be getting 10 months of time served for your time here. See you later.
Deuces.
Bye, bitch.
All right. Oh, this one.
Hey, what's up, dog?
Oh, do I need to help this guy as well? I can.
I promise I didn't do it. That guy did everything. You just sent him to jail. Good job. He's a terrible criminal.
Yeah, I'm assuming you need a lawyer too, or no?
Nah, I'm a clown.
Okay.
Can I put my mask back on? If you hand it to me, I do. All right, I gotta go buy a new one, you son of a bitch.
Can someone let me out?
Yeah.
Let me check.
Oh, okay. Hey, take your time, motherfucker. I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime.
I'm forgetting anything.
This door won't open for some reason. You have me trapped again. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna use this drill to break out of the gate. Man, it won't work.
Oh, I did want to
There we go.
change the.
Breaking my neck here, motherfucker. I'm trying to use the drill in my pocket to break this gate. I gotta get the fuck out of here. All right. I think I need a diamond tip. This shit tough. What's up, officer, motherfucker?
Okay.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
Mr. Ratchet, you have
Not
a
beautiful.
good time in jail, okay?
I will. I'ma hold all the pockets I can find. I'm about to make mad money. Y'all about to make me rich.
Well,
Y'all want to
good.
slip and slide?
You should work your ass off in there.
I am, motherfucker. That's how I do. How you know that? Listen, you
Good
want to
shit.
slip and slide?
No, I don't want to slip inside. What
Listen,
the fuck?
Listen, that's why I take my 2 front teeth out and I make your toes curl like this.
Are you selling yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Damn right, motherfucker. I make my money that way.
Well, everyone's, you know, okay.
Let me know if you change your mind, baby. I got you.
Will do. Maybe if you rap sometime again.
Okay.
You got 5, Captain?
Or what was that?
I was asking the captain if you had 5.
Yeah, believe so. I did not understand. What? Okay.
Give the second person you're crossing like 30 months served because of the whole hospital situation. All right, you have a good day.
Yeah, you too. All right. Hello again.
Hello.
Do you need help with something here, or like an attorney or anything like that? You're just hanging out.
I'm just waiting. I'm just
Okay.
waiting to go in there to ask about applications.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. They're still clearing evidence, I think.
Clearing evidence? Oh yeah, because something happened here. That's right. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Might
See
be
ya.
a while. See ya. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Maybe you should have just stuck around and talked to her. I don't really. Thinking. It's kind of defaulted to going away. I guess I don't need to. I guess I need. Okay. I think we'll go check out cheap autos real quick. See if they have the car ad whatnot. And after that, I don't know. One step at a time. Only reason I started streaming was because it was pretty funny what happened. I was just hanging out, and then a bunch of stuff happened all at once. No, it's always the case. It's always the case. I don't know why it happens like that, but everything will always happen all at once. Not always, but it tends to be the case. Feels like it, at least. I'm still pretty sure this doesn't have a trunk. It's a not really an okay driving car, but it's something. Wait, there's a gas station here-ish, right? Can you move? All right. Oh, I didn't want to call Harry as well. This will probably be a shorter stream today. Check that real quick. Cheap autos first. Wow, this piece of garbage from here. And 5K for it. Definitely not worth it. Real quick checking. Okay. Actually, do I have the perk yet? 1 point away. Actually decently priced.
She's a beauty. Yes.
Does that want to hold a whole bunch more? Maybe because it has a stud thing on top.
Yes.
Why? They only have the same cars. They don't seem to ever change. I don't know why.
Yes. That is a beautiful.
And they only seem to be increasing in price. Guess this one has pretty low miles.
She's a beauty. Yes.
Maybe this one will hold a fair amount. Or the... Where is it?
That is a beautiful automobile.
Oh, what? You can do that? I had no idea. That's what they meant by that.
Yes. That is a beautiful automobile.
I legitimately... Okay. Remember they did say something about that, but I was like, what? What are you talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Whoa. That's real cheap. Just 1K? I mean, man, that's 99 cents. Okay. Well, they don't have the car I want. I want... Can their, like, selection change? I feel like their selection hasn't actually ever changed now that I'm looking at it. Oh, wait. Oops. Hello?
Hello, my name is Merle. I'm looking for Mr. Jerry.
Mr. Jerry? I don't know who that is.
He was an attorney handling my case. He has some paperwork for me.
I'm not sure if I've met him before, but, I don't. If you'd be here, it'd probably be around the city hall.
Oh, what about Mr. Terry? Do you have a Mr. Terry?
Check my contacts.
Or maybe Gary? It's probably not Harry. I think it was. I don't think
I do know
I
Harry.
think it was. Oh, you do know a Harry. Oh. Well, maybe. It could have been, I guess. I didn't notice any extra fur, but it's possible.
Oh well, his name's Harry, but he's bald.
Oh, this chap wasn't bald, really.
Oh, okay, then I don't think it's him.
I thought he seemed to be in sort of a summer casual attire.
Did he look like a hippie at all?
No, it was not Mr. Graves.
Did he have like a long, braided ponytail?
I think he may have had longer hair, but I'm so horrible after the bulkhead incident. I guess I'll try back later. Thanks for your help, though, with Jerry or whoever.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't help too much, but yeah, you have a good one.
You're all right. You're all right. Keep doing the good work of our Lord.
Thank you, I appreciate you. Nice guy. Okay. Is there like a reason those cheap autos hasn't actually been like changing their selection for me? Is there a reason for that? Do you have to like buy a car for them to change that, or like what? And how do I get access to a trunk? They say someone just abandoned the car here because they realize it's completely useless. There's not even a trunk for it. Does have a nice red color though. Is it really just based on mouse? Interesting. There's a very big difference for a very small amount of mouse. Why is it doing this? The shops haven't updated at all for vehicles. I was wondering about that. I'm like, why do I keep seeing this the same vehicles? But, they don't update, apparently. It's weird. Where's this invoice from? Oh, I know what it's from. I wonder, would renting a car be cost efficient if you are don't want to spend a whole lot of money in gas? Thinking. Okay. It's always funny to me the weird the AI will just randomly drive into certain places and circle the area before leaving. Oh, that's not strange at all. Kind of looks like an encounter a little bit. Probably picked over, right? Maybe not.
You look sugar.
If this is going to tell me the same thing, then this is going to be the same cars over and over again. That has to be a bug. Yeah. It's the same cars. Why isn't it updating? That's really weird. Can I follow like a bug report about that? Alright, let me see if I can follow a bug report then. Very strange. Wait, he's been picked through. I think stuff always has spawned these, right? Oh yeah, someone just didn't pick up the clothing is what happened. Can I, Let's see, bug report. Bug? Oh wait, slash trunk? Let me try that. Slash trunk. Did it do something? Betty had to do it right around. There's nothing though. Okay, whatever. That's the local driving in there. Really weird lag. All right. Maybe it has to do with my encounters. That'd be a really weird thing, but it's possible that I need to like complete a counter before it fixes. Let me see. Okay. That's the case, then let's go here. I wonder if it would if we complete an encounter with it on that. It'd be a strange thing. I was trying to think of what I might be doing differently than other people, because other people probably are not experiencing this bug, and probably other people aren't like collecting encounters, and so there may be a bug in that regard, because the encounters are supposed to be random to some degree. So maybe the fact that I got some encounters that are and like never actually did them, it's causing some things to mess up. Okay, let's stop by here real quick as well. I never know what it is people are looking for here, but I'm curious. Power cell. Apparently these are like rare and like needed for something, I think. I have to remember that juicer as well. Maybe a short grenade. Okay. What? Yeah, okay. That might fix it if we do this encounter. Let's see. Otherwise, we might need to start quitting the encounters. Well, I mean, this is just a completely random theory I have. I'm not thinking about it. I'm treating it as truth for some reason. What the heck? I think we meant to stop by here earlier, but we got a syrup. Never gotten trash from here before. Just curious about the trash landscape here, whether or not it's been picked over. Oh, it's been picked over. Really? Okay. Even though it's like premium right here. Well, not even though it is premium, that's probably why it's been. Mark here. Otherwise, let's see what do you have, sir. Expensive stuff.
I am, watching you. This shop is very clean, yes?
Yeah, very clean. Oh, what was it doing here? Is there a special item I need to get here? Or was it the shrimp?
Thank you. Come back soon.
The last cigarette, it says. Wait, is that a casing? Why is there a casing on the counter? Um... Was that stolen? Why was there a casing on the counter there? Alright, I'm worried now. Alright, time to get out of there. Maybe that's what's been lagging up my map too, is all the encounters. It's possible. I remember the guys that started beating me up over here. Like, oh, it's the guy. That's not the guy. He's gonna be there.
How's it going? Hey, all good. How's it going?
Okay, that's it. All right. All right, encounter completed. Is that what's been messing up my map every time I click it, like escape and all that? Shouldn't be. Go. We'll do that one next. Or let me use the restroom real quick though. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry for that. Okay, has this been gone through? No? Question mark? That's a little bit suspicious. That person would definitely pick up electronics though. Oh, I forgot to get water as well. Oops. We just getting trash locked. Oh, there's just trash here. There's so much here. Oh. Oh, they have another? Weird. Oh, that's right. I don't know why, but there seems to be a guy around here that only goes around to these boxes. Small boxes. Actually, this is the second time I've seen that here where someone's gone through the small ones, but they haven't gone through big ones. But why? Yeah. Alright, that makes me really suspicious. That makes me really suspicious, actually. I'm almost wondering if someone is botting those. But it'd be really difficult, right, to make a bot to do something like that. I can't think of a reason for why they wouldn't. Maybe they just don't know they can use the big trash cans? That's so strange. I'm actually curious now if there's a way to verify who that person is. What's the comp doing over there? I think I'm supposed to actually be here. That's really strange. Alright. We don't go here then. It's green. Can you go? Oh, we had to go inside there, right? Can we just jump over that? What did she want? There we go. Alright. Oh, we went. What is this key of my inventory then? Bravado? Rumpo. Oh, okay, yeah, this is the... Alright, what do they want me to do here? Founding principles of happiness. Oh, I definitely need some... I probably want some water if I wanna... Nine discarded pamphlets. Alright. Is there any place I can buy water around here? Vending machine's fine. Alright, meat. Nowhere really? Ugh. Let's look for a vending machine real quick. Probably will not be some in the residential areas. Okay. almost certainly some done that. There is, I see it. Alright, give me a second. Getting really suspicious now. Wait, I messed it. Wait, did I? Am I blind? Has somebody looted every single trash can here? That doesn't seem reasonable. Vending machine? How? Okay, we just have to go all the way over here. I think coffee's good. Wait, indeed. Why am I standing? There we go. Wait, I never locked my first place. Is that a cop car? Alright. We went on our journey to find something to drink. Can I park inside here? I can, probably. Okay, I gotta find discarded pamphlets. Using my eyes. That one? Wow, almost invisible. Oh, there's the copper box. There's another one. Okay, now I know what they look like. My eyes that I use for seeing. Alright. Wouldn't be up here, right? Just check real quick. I thought it could be cool. Oh, right. This is the place that yeah, Franklin took us to a long time ago. I didn't realize this is the Epsilon building. That's so funny. Like, yeah, this place just relaxes me. Like, huh? Still don't know what Epsilon is. I didn't see anything. What's that? Oh, I guess it. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can help you.
Hey, we are looking for a lawyer named Harry or Gary or something ending with Harry. Do you know him?
I know a Harry.
Is he a lawyer?
He's working for the DA's office. He's a lawyer technically, yeah.
Can he come to the court? Because he is needed because he took some paperwork of the people and he wants Harry, Gary, whoever there. Can you contact him, please?
Sure. What's your name?
My name is Abu.
Okay.
A-B-U.
All right, I'll call him and let him know.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See.
Hey, Liz.
Hey, were you doing paperwork for a person named Abu?
That name does not ring a bell.
Okay, I got a call and they said a Harry or Larry was doing paperwork for them. And so I thought it might have been you because you said that we could still do paperwork. We worked for
what it
his
was in
office.
reference to?
Just an attorney that was helping them with paperwork. That's about all I know.
Yeah, I've not been an attorney for a couple of weeks now, and the name doesn't ring a bell, so I'm gonna say no.
Oh, I was just wondering if you were doing paperwork like on the side, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Okay.
I mean, I could, but yeah, no, in this instance, it certainly wasn't me.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to ask about earlier. Am I wrong about the accomplice thing?
I was a witness, so I'm not going to be, if that goes to court, I won't be prosecuting, so I do feel somewhat comfortable talking to you about it. In this case, I think the accomplice would stand, based on the information that I heard. I get what you're saying, and there are certain levels of sort of like proximity just on location, it wouldn't make it stand, but because he was complicit in the arrival in a stolen police vehicle and trying to impersonate an officer, the state would argue that that would place him close enough to the scene to be held liable as an accomplice. Anything other than that, I can't share with you because it would be based on the investigation.
Well, yeah, I was just wondering, I felt like the definition for accomplice required aiding them in some way. Just being there doesn't actually count.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I think the state would have an argument for it.
Okay.
Again, there's more information, but unfortunately I can't share it, obviously.
All right. I wasn't asking about like the specific investigation, just like about the...
Yeah, no, I get you, I get you. Broadly speaking, I agree, you need more than proximity. Because then you could argue that I was accomplice, because I stood right next to them at one point as well, right? But yeah, no, there has to be a basis more than just location. I think a case actually had an accomplice charge overruled before, where somebody was with somebody, and then somebody else that they were with stabbed another individual, and they got charged with accomplice. However, that was thrown out. I can't remember enough about it or what case it was to look it up and give you a little bit more information on that. But yeah, so there needs to be something you can point to in like the fact chain or like the pattern of events that can highlight involvement beyond just physical location.
Okay. I've always understood accomplice to require materially aiding a person. But if that's not the case here, that's possible.
Yeah, it's difficult. I wasn't witness to it all either, and even if I was, I couldn't tell you. But yeah, no.
I mean, regardless
mean,
of that specific of what happened
Yeah.
previously, and the accomplice by itself, if is that like if there, let's say, I'll give you a random example then.
Okay.
Four gang members, they're own a car together, and the one gang member is pulled over, or they pull over the car, and then the gang member who's driving starts driving away, evading. Do
Yeah.
the three other gang members who are in that car, are they accomplice to that?
With evading, I don't think so. Because in that chain of the fact pattern, they had no. Well, unless obviously they were heard saying anything, but let's assume all the other muddy stuff wasn't there. In that case, I don't think they would get it, and there would be no grounds to uphold it, because in the chain of events that led up to that situation, they have no way to have any influence whatsoever, right?
So they need agency, is what you're saying?
What's that, sorry?
So you're saying that they need agency, is what you're saying?
Yeah, there has to be some
So
direct involvement in some way, shape, or form. Look, that's my interpretation of it as well, though.
I can see that, but I feel like that could lead to a lot of situations that are not meant to that. Like if we were to take that to like its full logical conclusion, that would mean that if someone intended to be somewhere, regardless of how they got there, if there was a crime taking place and they knew there was a crime taking place there, then they would be liable for that.
Say that again, sorry.
So let's say, for instance, let me see, what's a reasonable example? Someone hears that there's going to be a gang fight or something like that. There's going to be people fighting, and they're betting on it or whatnot. And there's going to be betting and whatnot. Not that they're betting, but so they go there to watch said fight. That's what their intention is, to go there to watch that fight. They're aware of this crime. Would that make them an accomplice to the gang fighting?
That's
you see what I mean?
interesting one. Yeah, that's an interesting one in particular, because if you are aware of a crime that is happening and you fail to report it, I don't think you can be charged. But if you fail to report it and place yourself at the scene, maybe that would be sufficient. There's been conversations along these lines, actually, that I've had with other people about stuff like this, and needing to set some sort of case law precedent for things like that as well. Like, you know, if you witness a crime, what sort of obligation, if any, is there on you to report it, sort of thing?
I know this is the case in a lot of, well, I guess it depends on the state, but for different government officials and for like teachers and whatnot, they have a duty to report, meaning that if they are aware of a crime, they are required by law to report it. So I don't think that's the case here. I don't think we are required by law to report crimes. But
yeah, I don't think so either. But I could imagine that could be something that will arise in the future, and we'll get an interesting case out of it.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think the issue here at the moment is the state is very much in its infancy, and so a lot of these difficult gray areas haven't had chance to be thoroughly explored yet, and so there's a lot of nuance that can, at first glance, come across really troubling, and potentially is really troubling until we've had the cases to sort of set the legal framework around them. So yeah, I certainly get where you're coming from, and I'm really interested to see where it ends up.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to see whether or not I was crazy in that regard or not, but.
No, I don't think so. All
right. Well, thank you for talking.
We can talk about this one more like once it's all settled, because I think there's an interesting conversation to have with this one.
Oh, is this there was the thing last night as well where a cop was charging a person with evading for being accomplice, for just being a passenger in the car, and I was like, I don't think that's how that works. That's not.
Yeah. See, evading is one where unless you have some sort of material evidence that the person encouraged them to do something, or provided them with information that they ought to do it based on them having a warrant out for the arrest or something like that, yeah, I don't think you can prove within a fact pattern or a set of chain of events that they had any material involvement whatsoever.
Yeah, I would say they like. So like the question, how liable are you for a crime that someone else commits? Right, like
yeah.
at what point in time do you become liable for their crime?
That's an interesting thing that I brought to a civil case recently, actually. With it's concluded, it's dropped now, so I can talk about it. Somebody raised a civil case against a police officer for failing to inventory their vehicle, and this is civil, obviously, so slightly different, but same sort of thought pattern. File a civil case for failure to inventory their vehicle, and thus they wanted to sue the police for the amount of money they believe they lost that was in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a whole host of issues around how you actually verify that, but the crux of my sort of statement is even if the officer did fail to document what was inside the vehicle, does that make the officer and the state liable for the theft that somebody else did? I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say so. Not unless there was like some form of willful negligence in that place. So not just negligence, but willful negligence.
Yeah. So the argument they made was like that, by towing the car and impounding the car and inventorying the car, the state was then sort of, what's the word? They were in custody of the belongings. That was the argument that was made. And I still don't think that makes them liable for the actions of other people. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one, that's for sure. And how it applies to criminal stuff is perhaps more important. And yeah, something I'd be really interested to see explored more as and when this sort of stuff comes around.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about because liability for a lot of that's for civil or whatnot, but like, just last night, I really last night with or yesterday I should say with the court case, I feel like regardless of civil liability, rights violations are still within scope for court cases, and they should be allowed to be talked about.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I am very disappointed what happened last night. I went to another judge to file a complaint on Hawthorne, and I explained as well to the other judge the conflict that I was having from A, being a witness, and B, also now being a representative of the state, and how it made me uncomfortable in both regards, because it felt more like shit slinging than actually trying to achieve anything approximating justice. And they basically, depending on whether you're going to be a defense attorney or the district attorney's office, basically encourage that this gets sent to the 13th Court of Appeals.
What does that mean exactly?
So the 13th appeal here is the last avenue you have to appeal a verdict given by a judge. So in this case, you would be appealing the decision of Judge Hawthorne and asking that it be reviewed again by another judge, and you'd have to articulate good reasons for why.
Yeah, I know you have to have a good reason for appealing it. Like either there's new evidence found or there was something directly wrong that happened with the case. I guess that kind of did happen with this one.
Yeah, the judge objected in ways that I think added an argumentative nature to witness questioning that the district attorney office wouldn't have pursued otherwise. And I think that biased, although the judge did admittedly object on both sides, I think that added an element of bias to his notion already, and just was really just unacceptable, to be honest. I know that our courtrooms, particularly in open courts and chamber hearings, are meant to be more relaxed and informal, but I think there's a point where that informality toes the line of malpractice, for lack of a better word. I was not happy with what I saw.
Well, not even that. If they're supposed to be relaxed and informal, then I feel like there should be a little bit of leeway in regards to what is objectionable.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like at the very end, whenever Paige was up, he's just like, all right, let me just let her say whatever then, because get it out of his system, and then he just decided to roll guilty because he already had made his decision by that point in time.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. With how things are done here, the 13th Circuit appeals are very, very rare. I think there's been one heard so far in the city. So it mostly exists in scenarios being used to establish precedent. And so if you find a precedent-setting judgment and you disagree with it, that's ordinarily when you would make an appeal to the 13th Circuit Court. However, that's not the only reason. It's just to say that if you're not appealing precedent, which last night's case wouldn't have been, then you're going to need to articulate even more clearly why it needs to be reheard.
Well, thank you for the follow, dear. Appreciate you.
And, you know, I personally think this is one that should
the
go.
double barrel?
Because...
what was it, 500 or so?
Outright blatant dismissal of anything relating to conduct having any liability criminally on behalf of the officers. And I don't think that that was a good judgment. I don't think it was a fair judgment. And I don't think
I figured it was about to be 1K or so, because there's no, you have to like
the opportunity to speak
make those, you can't really just buy them. Well, because like, just to give another example then, if an officer were to just illegally search someone, that is technically a civil rights violation, yes, but that should absolutely be within scope of regarding the court case, because everything else could be thrown out because of it. So it's so crazy to me that he was saying that. I was trying to explain that as well, but he was...
Yeah, no, I think you should definitely, you know, appeal this. You can put the appeal in, articulate your thoughts and feelings, particularly with what you said regarding it always being within scope.
I had no idea either.
I sat there like, when you said
I was like,
that,
I have no idea what... Like, oh, 350,
this.
that seems reasonable. Yeah, you give it starting
You
on.
finally managed to cut through all of the mudslinging and shit-slinging that they did. You're finally... The judge is finally going to listen and let you talk. And then they said, no. I was so confused. That's when I gave up on the case and just sort of slumped in my chair like, what the fuck is happening?
I mean, I said, you know, I have no defense if I...
Yeah. No. And then they tried to hit you with that as well, didn't they? Which I thought was a little bit... Yeah, it felt like an easy gotcha when the whole courtroom felt like it was designed to be against you.
That was funny. And then we saw you too. I saw you right as you were leaving.
And so, yeah, I didn't like anything about it. That's all.
I definitely, I don't know. I was, I felt like I was pretty prepared for everything. I spent a good while preparing, but then I guess it just wasn't prepared to not be able to ask questions. That's it was. Yeah, it was funny though.
Yeah, no.
All right, hopefully I see you around actually, but yeah, hopefully I see you around.
Yeah, no, I think you
Good
got,
to see you
you
here,
got railroaded,
actually.
to be honest, and then you had the entire courtroom prejudiced against you very early on. Pryor also said some questionable things as well and got away with it, which was...
That's not that, that's not that, like, that's, so if that is okay, why can't I say some questionable things too? Like, that's not, I don't understand, like, this, that's the point why I want to make about it, is it like, that if he's doing it, then this, like, it's informal, right? So, like, I can just, I mean, I had some, let me read you some of the questions I had from yesterday.
I will say, I think for future things, like if this does go, I will be asking if, even if a 13th Court of Appeals would be a big thing, I would be asking if we could have it still in chambers.
Sorry, this is on the phone call right now.
Weird,
but
really weird dynamic
good to see
between questioning and ADA on it. Because Pryor approached me afterwards as well and said, "Whose fucking side are you on?"
So, I think that you have to, I wasn't necessarily asking you to go against the state in this reason. I was asking, in your personal opinion, as an experienced, expert opinion, the ADA's sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you were doing that. I'm saying that that's how I feel like it would have been perceived to the average person.
And I definitely admit that was a little bit sneaky of me to do, but I didn't know what else I could do, honestly. That's...
Yeah.
At that point, I'm like, there's not really anything else I can
Yeah, no, I think you did.
Although I did prepare questions for that, though.
From the direction you were going, I think you were completely on the right track. I was cut off on both times when I was about to give the word that would have hopefully made the judge realize that we're not questioning the conduct civilly, we're questioning the conduct as it relates to somebody's ability to reasonably carry out a lawful order.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I haven't. So, give me 1 second. Let me read this one real quick. So, what do you call that? I think the main issue with it is there has to be some way to. I'm not sure myself, honestly. But I don't know. I wasn't sure like what a level of whenever I was doing the Mike Block court case as well, I was not sure like what was allowed, so to speak. Like I asked the what's called one of the cops a question of whether or not she was on a date with the other person who was involved in the scene, and immediately the judge is like, no. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I can explain what this is relevant. No. I'm like, what? And it took
Again, I don't like this. I don't like the fact that judges are determining themselves what is and isn't allowed before giving the opposing side's lawyer a chance to object themselves.
He didn't even give me a chance to justify it, is the thing. Mike Block actually had to speak up on my piece, like, what's so bad about what he asked? And then just like, all right, I'll give you 2 sentences. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was able to justify how it was related. That was completely made up on the spot, though. I was really just asking to mess with him, but I was able to justify it, but after the fact. But
yeah, I don't like what the judges are doing in that regard. It feels like they're taking a lot of agency away from both the defense attorney and the prosecutors.
So I think what they're doing is kind of normal, because that's not like super strange, but the way that the fact that they're doing it openly is what's the other problem. So if they were to make that decision for themselves, like, I'm just not gonna take this into consideration because it's not relevant, then they can do that whenever they are deliberating, right? That's not something they have to do like in front of everyone and make like an example out of the person asking, sort of thing. Like that's showing a little bit bias.
That's the issue. I think that's the issue. Is it the explicit argumentative nature of the judges biases the courtroom, whether it's their intention or not.
I mean, they feel, judges here feel a lot like they're still acting like attorneys, really. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, there's an element of that makes sense. But then there's context in this city that makes that not make any sense. So, for instance, I don't think any of the judges here actually worked their way up in the city.
Okay.
They were appointed. And so, there may be things in my practice and my conduct.
I felt bad, actually. I was like, wait, why am I going off to just do whatever?
I might come across more like a defense attorney.
I was like, I should stick around and just talk with her while she's waiting here. but I'm like, oh, I'm already leaving now. I'm like, what? Can I turn back? It's like, no, it'd be weird though. But I was overthinking things. But
as well, right? Where you might think, oh,
I was like, wait, I forgot to RP there.
Like a prosecutor, not a judge. That would be reasonable, and there would be a bedding in period where, I think you would, you could still make complaints if you think the behavior is unacceptable, but you can at least rationalize why that behavior exists in the first place. But you can't make that argument here because all our judges were appointed as judges. There was no like Hawthorne wasn't a defense attorney and then became a judge. He was just judge.
I'm assuming though he had some experience outside the city or otherwise, to be able to get that position in the first place.
Not sure.
Is what I would hope, but I mean, if that's the case, then I feel like they shouldn't be acting like that.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. Again, I appreciate the more informal nature and thus giving judges themselves a little bit more room to work with. But I think outright objecting to things in the fashion that he did biased the courtroom, undermined your ability to do your job, and directly stopped any reasonable pursuit of anything approximating justice.
I agree so as well. It did feel very, especially whenever it felt like he was entirely siding with the what's her name?
Tinsel, Holly Tinsel.
Yeah. It felt very much so like he was siding with her on everything in that regard, and She realized that as well. She was gloating during the trial. That pissed me off. I could hear that in her voice. I may have had some words, but like instead, what I did is later on that day, I had a cell rep over, and I said, "What's called? Could you please not gloat in the future? Like, this I just what's called that just makes me really bitter." And then she apologized, and I said, "No, it's okay," and then walked off out of it. But otherwise, I for sure would have just held that and just kept it as a grudge for a long time if I hadn't said that. So I felt, well, I was, I'm a fairly agreeable person, so I'm not actually, despite being an attorney, that I don't actually enjoy conflict that much. I enjoy arguments, but not conflict, and so that kind of thing is hard for me. Flagger, there's one. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it was strange, and it was telling as well. I think that you saw that Tinsel had to quieten down Pryor at multiple times, stop him from saying more egregious shit, and it did feel more like. I mean, I guess it's the ADA's job in those situations. It felt more like protectionism than actually trying to pursue anything meaningful.
I mean, I think it's fine for him to say whatever in court. Like, if he gets contempt of court, he gets contempt of court. Like, that's the worst I would expect of something like that. If it was the ADA doing something like that, then I could say that's not acceptable because they have a level of expectation that they're required to perform in court and etiquette and all that. But that's their main job, so to speak. But for a cop, I would not hold them to the same standard. So I don't. I didn't really understand why there was such a "don't let anybody speak" sort of feeling in that way. Yep. It was very stifling.
Yeah, no. I mean, I plan on having a chat later with the DAs and potentially a judge or two, Gil if possible, just to clarify what they envisage the end goal of the DA's office being. Because in that case, it felt more like the DA's office cared more about winning than anything else, and that's fine if that's how they want to operate. But that's not how I conduct myself.
Yeah, that's not how you should be doing things. You should be doing things because your argument is like logically correct, not because you are doing it in a way to win.
Yeah, and now I appreciate the courtroom's competitive, and lawyers on both sides are going to be competitive people. But personally, I care more about actually doing the right thing rather than winning. And I just need to have a chat with the DA and a couple of judges just to make sure that I'm going to be a good fit. Because if I come across something and it seems like a gross injustice, I would just be moving to throw it out every single time. Assuming I can articulate that and back it up, of course.
I don't even necessarily think it was like the absolute worst injustice, but I think at least the failure to comply charge could have been dropped because of it. That's the only thing I was like, I felt like 100% need to be taken off. That and the illegal parking, I don't know why Pryor said that, but I have seen every single time I've ever seen anybody detained, they always pull up on the sidewalk with their car, like halfway so.
Yeah, no, I think it's bullshit to be charged for illegal parking when you're pulling over.
Thank you very much so. Oh, sorry. Let's see. How do I do an appeal if I wanted to do that?
You would need to. It's in the SOPs, but it's really not much detail.
Okay, we found that one. Is there? Where else would they hide these?
I'd say maybe email Gil and just inquire about the best way to go around submitting that appeal.
Should I write something up for it, or if it's just an email, that's...
Ordinarily, I'd not suggest going straight to email, but this is one where the guidance on it is limited and it might be worthwhile.
Okay. Oh, and I didn't really you off some of the questions I had. I wasn't sure how... I felt like these questions, well, I'd feel it out, but I was gonna...
Maybe it'll go to the 13th.
I was gonna this is what's called. Tell me what you think of this one. Was for Pryor. Does the defendant's hair color remind you of a pumpkin ready to be carved open? That's...
You know they'd immediately say like objection relevant.
Absolutely,
because
yeah.
They didn't even let you, but it's funny, and you know, sometimes tense situations can benefit from a little bit of humor.
I think so as well. I added elements like that, but I just never was given a chance to get to them. But
yeah,
I did add
it's a
elements
shame.
like that.
It ended up being like a 50-minute court case of nothing actually happening because the prejudice of the judge was already immediately apparent.
It did very much so feel like that. Just like it's a civil matter. It's a civil matter. That's not how that works. The judge can't make that decision. It's the judge has to.
You're appealing a criminal charge.
Yeah. Regardless of even if it's a civil matter, if it happened during the like the incident, so to speak, then it's in the scope. It needs to be talked about. I don't understand why it wouldn't be. That's so strange. Like the whole point of the court case is to get the full story of what had happened, right, in a non-narrative fashion. So what happened there? The fact that regardless if it was a what's called a civil rights violation, if it happened during that incident, it should be talked about.
Yeah.
I was so confused by that. I'm just like, this is like the basics of like.
I know what they were saying. They were saying you were questioning the conduct of the officer, and they were trying to say they because they never actually got to get to the point where you could explain why the conduct affected the criminal charge. They just, I think, were assuming that you were trying to argue that, you know, Pryor bad, Pryor mean, upset my client. They didn't actually understand why that had a material effect on her inability to comply.
I did make that. I did make that argument that it affected her conduct, but he said that didn't matter. But
yeah. The problem is by the time you actually got to say that, they'd already, you know, dug their heels in. You could tell.
I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't a fun experience.
Definitely was not. I've never had something like experience like that in court before.
Yeah, I really hope that whoever reviews the 13th Circuit Court of Appeals realizes what was the problem there. But yeah, in terms of how you go about
I'm not even sure.
The guidance we have on it is
just didn't feel. It felt off.
Four
felt wrong.
lines, 3 sentences, and doesn't really give much guidance on how you go about it. So I would personally suggest reaching out to Gil via email, which again, like I said, I wouldn't usually suggest as the first attempt, but I think this falls within that sort of special case where it would be, you know, prudent to go that route.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if I was going to appeal it or not because I thought it might extend
for over a week, so
the DA's time or
time. Delay this any longer.
Okay.
I'd say talk to another lawyer as well, just in case. If you do join the DA's office, get them up to speed and with everything, so that when it does come around, you know,
even
good there still.
Even Paige was thinking of me as she's like, you prepared for a civil case, not for a criminal one. It's like, no. I did. I prepared for a criminal case. If I was doing a civil case, it'd be much different.
Yeah. No.
I was planning on dyeing the hair orange, actually.
Questions that I somehow almost managed to answer. I know exactly where you were
when he
going.
joins the DA's office, or red, I should say.
It's unfortunate that by the time I even got to be on the stand, they were already prejudiced.
Yeah, that's well, it is what it is. But I guess I'll try and do something about it because
yeah.
I usually don't like.
I hope it does.
Yeah, doing stuff like that, but
I think this is a really important case because people disregard conduct of officers as some civil thing, but officer conduct absolutely, definitely does affect how people are going to interact with them and act with them out in the wild, out in the real world, out during criminal charges. And if people can't feel safe when an officer approaches them and talks to them, of course that's going to affect how they act. And of course that has an effect criminally.
Oh, I was a bit confused about that as well. He didn't ask for a closing argument.
Yeah, no, he'd already made up his mind.
Yeah. We
know that already. And I would put that in the appeal as well, depending on how you're instructed to go about it.
Yeah, I do feel that the closing argument is the... Oh, so I shouldn't just I shouldn't just email him and say, hey, can I have an appeal for this? Okay, so I should have like a reason ready. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
Well,
if he was there or not to witness it.
Yeah, I don't think he was there for some of it, but not all of it, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I would reach out and say you've got a query about how to approach 13th appeals and what you need. I wouldn't give any information directly
To not conflict him. Yeah, I don't
straight
know.
away. Yeah, to not conflict him. And then if he asks for more, then you've sort of got the, okay, conflict me. You know, we've got another new judge now, and I've not met them yet, so I don't know much about them. But if they're anything like Hartman, it'll be an absolute wonderful addition. Hartman is fantastic. I am in love with that judge.
Oh, I don't think I met them. I just met Thorn
should,
probably for the
hopefully.
first time yesterday, but that was not.
Yeah, no, Hartman is absolutely fantastic. I'm happy to say that I love Hartman. Great judge already.
Okay. I'll have to. Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But
Alright.
yeah, no, this is it's really interesting. Keep me in the loop as well with how everything goes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Obviously, everything you tell me, it just gets locked in a, does not leave my lips. I don't talk to anybody about this stuff other than yourself and Paige.
Yeah, I would get that. You were
yeah.
the defense attorney for the case as well and all that, so it's what's called yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. It's just this internal conflict I have with state representative now versus witness and defense attorney to something horrific on the other side.
So that I don't even think that should necessarily change anything. So she was making the argument that you didn't have the experience of being an ADA at the time. Regardless of that, I wasn't asking your opinion of how it was at the time. I was asking how your opinion of what it is now with your experience as an ADA. You know, your expertise in that regard. So I don't see why that would matter. And the judge still ruled on it for that way. That was very.
And then you didn't also get a chance to explain why. You were just immediately shunned again every time you tried to bring it up. No, it was. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe open court wasn't the right space for it. But at the same time, like, to me, I thought that was going to be a slam dunk. It's sorted. 3 questions in. Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
It was supposed to be with Phoebe, and I think with Phoebe it would have been much better. But Phoebe, apparently nobody told her that the open court was happening yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And so, what's called? She wasn't even aware of that, and then what's called? She told me she was like just waking up in the middle whenever the trial was just starting, and so I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But you told me about it, so I assumed that DA's office would know, but I guess maybe everybody just assumed that she would know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I knew about it. 2 others in the DA's office knew about it.
I didn't expect this phone call to go so long.
3 judges knew about it. Yeah, I don't know. But it's you know, it's in the past. Let's look to the future and hopefully, you know, that appeal can be heard, because I think it's certainly a worthwhile thing that should be appealed. It's a minor charge, but I think the context behind the charge is something that deserves to be properly investigated.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, thanks for all your advice, and you know, I appreciate you, you know, as my friend.
Yeah. No, of course. And as always, I am very new to this, and so
Heartwarming stuff.
You know, different perspectives can sometimes have value themselves, but in terms of pure legal knowledge,
they do.
You probably run rings about me at the moment, so just bear that in mind as well.
I mean, I don't really have any formal training per se. I just have a lot of experience, like actually in court, I guess, and understanding what the arguments you can make and whatnot are in that regard.
I've been in court for like 10 cases now total. That's it.
Okay, I think I have like 70-ish around there.
There you go. There you go. It counts for a lot, right? You can only learn so much without doing it. And
absolutely, experience was how I learned everything for being an attorney.
Yeah, my sort of thing is I am absolutely confident having an informal discussion with somebody, and I'm absolutely confident in my sort of abilities to construct and deconstruct arguments. But the sort of the courtroom decorum, particularly in the U.S.-centric system, is really kind of baffling to me.
In what regard?
Yeah,
Well,
like just the terminology is different as well, and the approach to, like this is something I didn't even know until recently, that obviously leading bad, but during cross-ex, lead the shit out of the witness.
Oh, absolutely.
I found that really peculiar.
Do you know the reason for that?
I could probably get it, but I'm sure you could tell me in an easier fashion.
This is actually one of the questions for me to have gotten my bar.
Yeah.
It was that the reason why you're allowed to lead is because the witness is presumed hostile. So whenever you are doing a cross-examination, what you're doing is you're taking what their statements were and you're saying, is that really true? You're directly questioning their statements and the validity of them, which is what's called a more argumentative hostile act. And so they will be they will be trying to defend themselves in that situation, right? And so for that reason, they are hostile against you. And that is the reason why you can ask leading questions, because if someone is acting in a hostile manner towards you, they are going to want to like weasel about. And the only way to really stop that is to ask leading questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sort of what I thought, but yeah, I don't think I could have articulated it that quickly.
Well, I mean, the just bare bones definition of it is because witness is presumed hostile. But that doesn't really tell you what that means, right? That's just a words for it. But the real reason is just so that you don't allow any like weaseling about. Because I'm not sure if you've seen it before, but there will often be cases where you either see cops or criminals or whatnot, where they just give the most evasive answers you can possibly think of. And you're like, how is it possible? Like they were like very intentionally trying to not like answer a question like in a certain way. And they're like, you really have to just like pin them down to the ground and like you like enforce them to answer it. And I'm like, oh, you could have just done this the easy way, but now I have to.
Yeah. I guess if they're being evasive, then if you're having that difficulty eliciting testimony, then you need some way to elicit the testimony, and then by being hostile, you can get it that way.
There is actually so you can actually lead on direct as well. You can request for the witness to be treated as hostile. That's what it is. And if that is the case, then yeah, you can just lead on direct. That would be for cases where you are calling a witness on direct who is who you believe to be hostile to you. So if you were to call a cop on direct, more likely than not they're going to be on the the state side, and so they would be hostile, and you can ask for them to be treated as such. For that reason, that would be an example of that. Where then, if you were the defense attorney, you could lead on direct for that. For the case of the prosecution, if they were to call one of the defendant's friends onto the stand, they could ask for them to be presumed as hostile because they're friends, and so they're obviously going to want to back up their friends for that reason. That'd be another good example of that.
Oh, I see. So if you believe that they would testify in a favorable way to the opposition, you can treat them as hostile.
Yeah, if you believe they'd be biased.
Counterbalance that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah,
like it's that sort of courtroom stuff that I'm not familiar with, and I think will take a lot of experience and probably a lot of looking incredibly stupid in front of a lot of people until I get it under my belt. But I don't have any problems with that. You learn more from failures than you do from successes.
Absolutely, you don't. That's why for this one I was like, if I like lose a court case, I usually have like an idea of like what was needed that I missed or like what I did wrong. But this one I was like, I don't know. There was no direction for me to like really see what I did wrong or where I was or what I was doing, and so I'm like, I don't know. I was unlocked.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It was strange. It was definitely strange.
Let's see. Is there any other questions about the decorum stuff though? There's some pretty easy answers I can give for that kind of stuff.
I'd have to like just think of some things. Honestly, the best way for me to get questions to this would be like next time there's a trial, I'll just scribble down like wasn't too sure on this, wasn't too sure on that, and I can just run it by you then.
Yeah, that'd be what to do about it.
It's one of those things where reflecting on it, I can't think of too many things, but in the moment, I would be able to be like, okay, this one.
Oh, are you aware of all the objections? There's a lot of them.
All the objections, no. A decent amount, sure.
So I didn't know this until very recently, actually. There's actually 22 exceptions to hearsay. There's quite a bit of them. So, for instance, if there was to be something like written on an object, and that object were to be brought into court, that is not hearsay then. That's a hearsay exception, because, you know, even though the person who wrote it or whatnot is not present, you don't necessarily know who wrote it. Or, like, let's say if someone even died and then wrote something in that case, then they're not able to defend themselves in that case, and so it would be hearsay, but that's why it's an exception for that rule, or reason.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of weird rules like that for hearsay, but the ones that you will probably use the most in cases will be leading. Relevancy can be one, but like I find that I use this as well, like in this way, but people try to use it whenever they don't like it what the other side is talking about, but that's generally not the best way to go about using it. The best way to go about using it is whenever the other side starts asking questions that are more like prejudicial in nature, or like, you know, what would be a good example of that?
Oh,
what would you have done in that situation? Something like that. It's that's not relevant. That's very much so not relevant, so you can object to it for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've heard that one used a lot, like objection, like, I don't know if it was inflammatory or something else, but they were trying to make the questions were trying to bias people in the courtroom against
more prejudicial than probative.
Yeah. That's
more so for jury trials. I mean, I don't think we have those here, but it can technically apply to bench trials. That's for, so if you were to ask something like to a person like, are you a racist? That is very much so intended to what's called to prejudice people against that person for that what's called by asking something about their beliefs or their questions or whatnot. That's not relevant to the case at hand, or even if it is relevant to the case at hand, it's something that would be make the person look so bad that it would change the way the people might, or the jury might make the decision because of it. Just be, well, if he's a racist, then I guess we have to vote him, he's guilty even if he's not. That sort of thing like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not a good way to go about it, but, you know, people are people. You know, they tend to...
The other cool thing about this state is if you want to object and you don't, like, know the terminology, the judges will let you just sort of explain why you're objecting to, which is really cool.
That's nice as well, when you can do that. This is... If you're in a very formal court case, this is one that's used for, like one that's been, you planned for, you prep for it, both sides are ready for it. It's referred to as lack of foundation.
Ah, yeah.
I'm not sure if you've had this one used against you too much, but it's, you can really, really, really trip up the opponent by using this objection. Usually I don't do it too often, but if it's a very formal court case, I'm going to do it because things are not in order. The way lack of foundation is... let me give you an example of that. So let's say that the person asks a question, okay, were you present at the incident? Okay. It's like, well, what did the police officer do to you at the time? And what's called, you could object to lack of foundation for that because there hasn't been established that there was police officers there or that they did anything to the defendant. You know what I mean? So you have to lead up to there. You have to build foundation, which is the whole reason for that sort of thing like that. I really like this about the court system, like the spirit of it. They don't allow assumptions. It's really, really amazing. It's great. It's like you have to treat everything like it's like if A then B, then it's a 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and it's really nice. I like it, and it feels very structured in that way. And so they really don't like assumptions, and so for that reason they will you can object to it for stuff like that if they make leaps of logic or they just skip things entirely. No, that's useful to trip up your
points. That would
yeah.
trip people up too, right? Because you might dazzle them when instead they could just be like, okay, let's build a narrative then.
Well, it trips people up if they don't prepare questions. So if you're preparing questions, you should probably be aware of that sort of thing. But some people are just like, well, I don't prepare questions ever. I don't really like that way of doing things because I don't know. I like prepping. I like being able to have a little bit at least of time to prep. I feel much more confident in being able to ask questions and whatnot. At least I used to feel like that until yesterday. But let's go. That's usually the case of what happens is that if someone isn't prepared with all their questions, then you can just really trip them up with that kind of stuff. or even if they are prepared, you can really trip them up with that kind of stuff. It's a very useful tool in that regard. But this is more of a this is more of a winning tool in the sense, but you could also use it as a more just object for the sake of it tool. So there are times when you can just object because you feel like, you know, if someone isn't doing something right, then you need to correct them. You shouldn't be like teaching bad habits, and so for that reason you should object to it. That could be a reason to do so, but I tend to object to things for that reason. If it's in a more formal court case, like regardless if it's going to help or win or not, I'm going to object because it's objectionable. And so that's it's kind of how I learned how to do things. But it can be useful for that reason. Let's see. Other main objections? See, I actually did run them down. Oh, there's this one. I've only ever used it once and it didn't get it didn't work too well. This is a strange one. It's referred to as nothing passing. So what this means is that if someone were to like, let's say for instance, you ask a person, were you there at the time? And they say, yes, I was there at the time. My mom told me to go. You could say, objection, nothing passing, for the second part of the statement, because you didn't ask them whether, like, who told them to go or whatnot. You asked them whether or not they were there at the time. They just said something extra at the end of that. And so for that reason, you could object to that statement. Either object to your own witness, or the main purpose of this is to object to the opponent's witness. So if the opponent is making a lot of like more narrative-ish comments, but it doesn't like fully go into that, you can do the nothing passing objection to sort of what do you call that? To sort of stop the going, like, the extraness that appears from answers. Like Paige was doing that a ton. She was doing that a ton, where she was just going on about like different things like that. It wasn't like fully going into narrative, but she was like stating the events of what happened after the question I asked was just nothing, or it was just like one thing, and then she just continued with events, and she made that assumption, and it wasn't ever objected to. But that would be one reason to object to it. Would be nothing passing. That's a rare objection, though. I've never heard that objection used before, other than me.
It sounds like you would do it more to just stop somebody going on and being annoying and filling in stuff that may be somewhat related but isn't being delivered well. I don't know.
It's
out of order or something. I don't know.
It's more for whenever your opponent has a really good witness on the stand. So you saw how Paige did just incredibly well on the stand, right? She did really good. Honestly, I'm like, what she did, she may have been able to make up for how much I fucked up. Turns out that wasn't the case, but she did really well on the stand. I even complimented her for doing so. If you have a person who's good on the stand, it's really, really easy to not really win, but to make things look in a certain fashion, like make them look the way you want. And so for that reason, it starts to you don't want to really allow that, because it really heavily biases the court. And how should I say this? Some people just have like an aura about them. This is more like metaphysical. I'm not sure if metaphysical, but like you know how some people you've met someone and they just have like this aura about them. You see them and it's like, okay, like things are the way they are. Yeah, their presence.
The way they hold themselves, the way they compose themselves.
Yeah, the way they go about things, the way they talk, the way they speak.
Yeah.
My aura? You think so? Interesting. Thank you for saying so.
Yeah, you want to shut them up ASAP.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to get pulled into their pace. It's some lawyers are like this, where they just have like a presence about them in the courtroom, where that's their thing. Is, you know, they have the present. They kind of like not necessarily control the courtroom, but they kind of like make it flow in the directions they kind of hoping for it to go. Like for example, Graves would probably be a decent example of this, where you know how he's very laid back and he tends to bring that manner wherever he is. That would be a good example of that. Someone who has an aura. He's a very more relaxed aura, and he carries that with him, and he sort of relaxes other people for that reason. That would be a very good example of that. Yes, he's someone with an aura. Not. So, I talked about this with my brother quite a bit, like for like hours actually, about like what is an aura, and you know the halos. Halos are an artist's depiction of an aura. The original like Renaissance halos, they were just like a golden aura around the person's head, and they ended up turning into a halo. But the depiction of that was an artist trying to show that this person had a presence that was more than what you saw. And I think that was like a great way. That's like back then they were depicting stuff like that in art. That's amazing. That's very beautiful, honestly, to think about like how that kind of stuff evolved and how, you know, we're having the same thoughts as we are thousands of years ago.
Yeah, the only thing I knew about that was that it predated Christianity because it was from like Hellenistic Greece and Rome.
Insult.
And so it couldn't have been a
I didn't say it was insult.
at least Christian divinity as much of a like it could have still
As a
been
thank you
based
for it.
on like divine divinity, but it from my understanding of it, sort of as what you said, it was more to do with like glory or power or lust or something like that. But yeah, I never looked into it into too much detail.
For auras, when I think of auras, I generally think of like military commanders, you know, that sort of thing like that, where either that or like really popular politicians, that sort of thing like that.
Some Themistocles or something.
Who was the Napoleon? Napoleon probably would be a good example of that.
Yeah.
There was
I went too far in the past.
maybe who was the guy, the British prime minister during the World War II?
Oh, Churchill.
Churchill. He'd be also a very good example of that. You know, there's people with like this auras about them where they kind of like flow about. Teddy Roosevelt, another person like that. Those people are very, very much so have a presence to them. And if some people, they will situationally have that aura, right? Whenever they get into the flow of things, that's when the aura starts to flow. So or the come out. They don't necessarily have it on at all times, and that's probably not true for anybody who has an aura, I would say. But it's very interesting to see whenever I do witness it.
Yeah.
No, that's not insult. I said thank you. Sorry, I speak very fast, and so I tend to stutter a bit.
And then there's a whole other really interesting conversation there, whether
So thank you for saying
auras
so.
or whatever you want to label them as. Did they actually exist? Is it a metaphysical thing? Or is it just something that we ourselves, imprint on other people because we value something socially to such an extreme that they do? Or is it just a combination of all of the above?
For the more philosophy side of things, philosophical. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I struggle with that word sometimes.
For that side of things, I would say, I mean, it's real if you believe it to be real. That's, I guess, how my argument would be. Like, if you, this is,
That's difficult though, isn't it? Then, because then you're making the point that something could be true for one person but not true for another.
Absolutely, we don't all see the same reality, and that's why we have court cases.
That's true. That's true. But is there an ultimate truth? Is there objective truth? Oh god, this conversation went really deep, really fast, huh?
Or is there what's called, what happened, so to speak, or like what is? If there's an objective version of that, there can be like certain things that are agreed upon, like measurements, or are generally agreed upon to a certain but I wouldn't necessarily say like measurements are real per se, because like the distance from one thing to another, that isn't something that's real in the sense like that's not something that distance isn't a thing that physically exists. Like you can say that space exists, like there's space in between these objects, right? But the distance between them isn't something that is physically exists. It's used as a measurement. And so for that reason, it's not really concept of time. Time would be another good example. It's a measurement, but it's not something that physically exists. We can like observe it to a degree, or like at least our perception of it, and we can show that events happen in like a linear fashion, at least as far as we're seeing them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that exists.
Yeah.
This is the
maybe it's time for me to dust off a Critique of Pure Reason and attempt to read it for real this time.
Critique of Pure Reason?
Yeah, Immanuel Kant.
Oh, I haven't actually read too much, like really anything at all in regards to this. This is more, I've had a lot of conversations with my brother, and just I think about things myself in this regard. Like, what does it actually mean? What if that is the case? And
no, I think
yeah.
so. Yeah, my master's is in political and legal philosophy.
Oh,
So
okay.
I like these kind of questions.
Interesting, huh?
So yeah, those sorts of questions come up a lot. They can be infuriating at times, but they can also be wonderful to explore at others.
I think they can. Well, I do agree they're wonderful, but I haven't really found anything to be infuriating per se.
I guess it depends on if you want to find the answer. Sometimes it can be frustrating because you.
Oh yeah.
You probably can't find the answer.
Yeah, sometimes there's not an answer, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff can be hard to realize at times. You know, even I myself, I only came to accept a lot of things through various trips I had. You know what I mean?
When you say trips, like psychedelic trips?
Yeah, that's
okay.
where
based.
Yeah. You know, the what do you call it, the eco death or whatever. I experienced definitely something like that. And ever since then, I feel like I see things in a different light, and I understand things a different way, and I have grown from it. It's been
Okay, so what you're telling me is at some point in the near future we got to get together, get some mushroom tea, and just go to another plane of existence together.
That'd be interesting, yeah. I always say though, if you have any like repressed trauma or anything like that, that's generally, you should be really careful with psychedelics, because that can like unrepress it for the duration, and that really fucks some people up.
I've had a couple bad trips, but for the most part, I've been pretty good.
Oh, okay. I've honestly never had a bad trip myself, but for some reason I always think I'm God whenever I do astral shrooms. Yeah, this is every single time it's weird. But
well, I've not tried DMT, and I've heard from a lot of people now that they always go and meet like the colorful geometry aliens in another plane of existence.
I've heard of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm still scared of that one. That's one that I would want to be, more than 100% sure I'm absolutely in the right frame of mind to even consider it.
I'm not sure if I've met anything. What I experienced was like, I feel like I saw behind the curtains, so to speak, of like reality. I was like, wait, everything is me? And I'm like, oh wait, everything is me. My definition of God is not the same other people might see it.
I was gonna say, you gotta be careful now, because it's gonna sound incredibly narcissistic.
Yeah, absolutely. It does sound incredibly.
God is myself. Deal with it, bitches.
Well, yeah, but I view myself in a lot of different ways. Because I would say that, no, you are me, and I'm you. You're just a different version of me, and I'm just a different version of you. So, this is more like Christian philosophy in the sense of, treat your neighbor as you do yourself. If you were to take this to the most extreme, then like the most the most literal, it would mean that you are the other person, right?
I mean, yeah.
That's what it would mean. Then that the other person is you, or you are also that in that sense, right? And so if you're treating them as that sense, it's you would be, the golden rule: do unto others as you would do unto yourself, sort of thing like that. But if there's only yourself, then you treat everything as in that literal fashion, then that means you can only do unto yourself, so to speak. It's a very strange philosophy, but I felt like, so I tend to think that there's one thing that connects us all. There's one thing that connects us all, and that one thing is very That one thing, I don't fully understand what that is, but I do have or not what it is, but I feel like I understand what it is, but not what it means. For me, I feel like that one thing is that life is sacred.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile the logical extreme of like the golden rule, or treat the neighbor as yourself, with like most theodicies and problems of evil, problems of suffering?
So I have a definition for evil that I've worked on for many years now, but it's still I feel like a work in progress. I mean, it's pretty complete right now, but I feel like there still could be some holes to it, because if you were to take this to the most literal extreme, there could be some problems with it. I feel like my definition is trying to cause suffering for your own benefit. or not for your own benefit. Yeah, for your own benefit. Yeah, because so if a parent spanks their child, right, they're not, and they truly believe it's going to help the child. I'm against physical punishment for kids, but if they truly believe it's going to like help the child, then I don't think it's an evil act. Because it's for the child's sake in that case, or how they might be rationalizing it. So it has to have intent involved with that.
Okay. Yeah, there's lots of counterexamples to that though that make it difficult to defend, right?
Or like what?
So if you truly believe, and I'll just go straight to extremism, if you truly believe that doing some awful or observably awful to most people things like blowing yourself up in a crowded room is gonna deliver those people to eternal glory, then can you be said to be doing an evil act by that?
No, I wouldn't say it's an evil thing if they believe that they're doing good, or at least not trying to cause suffering in some form. And well, no, even if they are trying to cause suffering in some form, if they believe it will bring some sort of benefit to others in some way, I don't think it'd be an inherently evil thing. So this would be the the whole who was it? Who was that lady who like drowned her kids because like she was scared of them being in the world?
I'm not sure, but I know the framework you're going after.
Yeah, that sort of thing like that. Like even though I feel like most people would probably say that's a horrible thing, I don't think she was probably, if her belief was that she was truly helping them, I don't think that's necessarily an evil thing. An evil thing has to have the intention of malice. Like it has to require someone to want to cause suffering to others, like in a truly they enjoy seeing the suffering of others, and that's their intent, is to cause suffering and to benefit from it in that way, or not even necessarily, yeah, just to cause suffering. They don't even necessarily need to benefit from it, but they well, I guess no, they would be benefiting from just doing the act themselves in some way, right? So I think that would be the case. Yeah.
Gratification, maybe.
Yeah. Because humans don't do things for no reason.
The first thing I think of when you mentioned the case of the woman that drowned her kids is the first thing I always think of is antinatalism, and it's amazing how much that scares people.
Oh, what's that mean?
Antinatalism is the belief that it's really hard to articulate. It's mostly propagated by
Harvey and Liz are teaming up in the future.
A philosopher called David Benatar, and it's the idea that
Liz is joining the DA's office.
Procreation is harmful.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Hard
Yeah.
fact rule, because and it's built upon this really non-intuitive asymmetry of I don't know what the word would be, like existence. I don't know, but it's basically like, so when you bring somebody into the world, it doesn't matter if on balance their life is better than it is bad. Every single person will at some point experience suffering, and thus bringing them into existence is increasing the net amount of suffering in the world.
I would say that's true, but I don't think things are based off the net amount. It will be based off of the relative amount. So whether or not the what's called the relative joy increases as a result of that, regardless of if there is suffering involved, I think that would still be a positive. I feel like, because
Yeah, I agree, but for people that already exist, right? So the asymmetry here is if bringing people into existence causes some harm to them, and not bringing them into existence doesn't change the harm or the benefits, because a person that doesn't come into existence can't benefit from those benefits, then the asymmetry suggests that if you are interested in minimizing suffering, then bringing people into existence is always a bad thing.
I feel like that would be, so minimizing suffering has usually the component of wanting other, so if there's less suffering, then there is something else that takes that place. There's not like just nothing. So something else has to take that place, which means that you value something else as well as suffering to two different degrees, right? You're saying that something else is better than suffering. You're making that judgment. And so by making that judgment, you're you're putting a lot more value on suffering rather than something else, when I don't think that's objectively correct. You are valuing suffering to be higher than other things, which is not an objective truth, so to speak.
The argument with that, though, is that comparison only exists for beings already in existence. And so you would say that even if... So the antinatalist often gets accused of saying then, oh, well, if suffering is bad, if you could press a button and everybody would painlessly die in their sleep, would you do that? And they would say no, because you've already got something based on the fact that you exist, and the net positive of most people's lives, at least in the Western world, is it counteracts that argument. The asymmetry, and this will be something I'll just have to look up and send you, because it's really fucking hard to explain, but I struggle to argue against it when I actually look into it properly. Is that for somebody that doesn't exist, you're not harming them by... There's nobody to harm by not bringing them into existence to experience the positives.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain. I'm probably doing a poor job at it, but it's something that I find really interesting. It's probably something I'd never actually be able to subscribe to out of like sort of some level of selfishness, I guess. I can't. But yeah, it's a really, really interesting sort of philosophical framework.
Well, yeah, I feel like the belief would be that you should, like you said, minimize suffering as much as possible. And if you were to take that to the most logical extreme, then that would mean not creating anything that could suffer. Like you said, that would be the most logical extreme of it. I mean, the most logical extreme of, my definition of evil would be, if someone isn't, doesn't have the intent to do evil, so to speak, and then they do something that hurts a lot of others. Is that an evil act? I think, so this is also in law quite a bit. So if someone is, you can plead insanity. And the plea of insanity...
Not here, you can't.
Not yet. We haven't had a good case for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always, bring that up. But the plea of insanity is saying that you were that the person is just not capable of making actions for themselves. Like they're just like reacting to stimulus, almost, so to speak. Their brain is messed up in some way that isn't that doesn't allow them to see cause and effect, or even to rationalize whether or not something is good or bad. And so whenever you have that, we say that the person can be liable for their actions because they are that way, so to speak. And I think that's true. That definition would apply to my definition of evil as well.
Yeah. I've done the classic Wikipedia thing, because it actually is a rare situation where the asymmetry is pretty well outlined. And so Benatar's asymmetry argument rests on sort of 4 premises. That 1, the presence of pain is bad. 2, the presence of pleasure is good. 3, the absence of pain is good, even if that good is not enjoyed by anyone. And 4, the absence of pleasure is not bad unless there is somebody for whom this absence is a deprivation. And so the argument goes then that coming into existence generates both good and bad experiences, pain and pleasure, whereas not coming into existence entails neither pain nor pleasure. And then, so because the absence of pain is good, the absence of pleasure is not bad. And thus, if you were to balance it, the ethical choice would be weighted in favor of non-procreation.
So I think there are very much so some flaws with that argument, in the sense that, for instance, you're making judgments about whether something is good or bad, but things just are, right? For me personally, I don't think that suffering is always a bad thing. I think there's for instance, let me give you whenever you're working out, right? After you have worked out, you might be really sore afterwards, right? And you might be hurting a lot. But sometimes it just feels really good, like you're sore in a good way. And you end up growing from it as a result, physically, growing from it as a result.
No, I get what you're saying. The comparative approach means that to be able to identify, the good, you need to know what the bad is, for instance, right? You need some kind of scale to appreciate it, because if everything was good all the time, you probably wouldn't be able to acknowledge that it was good. If you felt brilliant all the time, would you really be feeling brilliant, because you have nothing to compare and contrast it to know what you're feeling is what you're feeling?
I can see that. I think, that humans do just tend to gravitate towards the norm, though. What do they call that? The not necessarily mellow, but back to average. They always go back to average. Equilibrium, that's the term. They always tend to go back to equilibrium. And so the equilibrium, so to speak, is not really not feeling anything, because, you may not feel anything, but you're still experiencing things, right? It's not a lack of something per se, it's just kind of existing. And I think that's true even if you are feeling other emotions as well. It's not like those emotions are you. You're just experiencing those emotions at that time. That's not a good or bad thing. It just is.
Yeah.
But that's more of like a Buddhist philosophy rather than what do you call that? Then or I'm not sure what would it be rather than, but yeah, that's more of a Buddhist philosophy.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm not too familiar with sort of Buddhism or other sort of Eastern religions and philosophy.
I'm not either, but I've just I've seen a little bit about it, and I know I've heard things from other people. Like one of the things I do know is that the Buddha, he prefaced everything he said with now, and for all of his things he said regarding it, the scriptures or whatnot. And I actually asked a Buddhist at one point in time what that meant, and rather than say anything, he demonstrated to me. He started I think he started chanting religious like scriptures. I couldn't really understand them because they were in the native language. But what that mean? I feel like what I understood from that is that now is just being present. It's being here and now. You're not worrying about the past or the future, or like not regretting the past, not worrying about the future, not.
Yeah, it's always now.
Yeah, everything's now. A lot of people tend to forget that.
That's something I try to govern my life on as well. Particularly, I'm sometimes often accused of being too pragmatic, and it's something that I've tried to overcome by thinking that sort of phrase of "it's always now" as well. Don't let the past consume too much of your thoughts, and don't let the future or the concern or worries for the future take up too much of your time and thoughts either. Not because you shouldn't. Let's say I always point to the sort of
whether you ought to
the saving for retirement thing, for instance. You should still save for retirement. You should be prudent. However, you shouldn't put all your pennies in one basket for this idyllic future when you retire and go live happily ever after in the Mediterranean, when you may just get hit by a bus in 3 weeks. You should always be prioritizing your happiness now over preconceived notions of what the past and future should look like, or should have looked like rather.
Yeah, I think whenever you say, "Oh, I should be doing this," you're not going to do it if you say something like that. The only way to do it is actually to just start. That's hard. It's very hard. Change is hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I also let that kind of thing govern my how I deal with personal situations as well. So one thing I do is I cannot, it physically eats away at me. I cannot go to bed after an argument with somebody that I care about, because I could never let that be the last conversation I could potentially have with them. And so even if it is just me apologizing for something, even if I haven't really done anything wrong, I'll always make that effort to right a perceived wrong or get that relationship in a better place. And then that's sort of governed by that same sort of thought process as well.
I can understand that, although I do feel like the idea that it's possible it might be your last conversation. So you're putting value on the fact of something being the last. That isn't. I noticed this with
that might be future thinking as well, right?
Well, I noticed this to give you. I guess I'm pretty good at giving story examples, but this example is when I was younger. My what's called. I had the last granola bar in one of the boxes, and I had just left the box there because I was being lazy. And my brother says, "Oh, if we take the last one, then that means you have to throw the box away." And I was like, "What do you mean? How is that any different from taking the first one?" I didn't really understand why there'd be value in just taking the last one. It felt like something being the first or last. You're placing emphasis on that when there is more objectively there doesn't need to be. So the first or last is a measurement. It's useful for comparing things, but it's not something that exists per se, right? It's because it's a form of time, right? And so for that reason, it's what are you comparing it to, and whether that comparison is useful to you. Does that make any sense?
I mean, on balance, I try to engage with everybody that I engage with, particularly those that I care with, in a way that is consistent with my character and my feelings towards them. And I think that a person is the sum of all interactions you have with them over the entire time that you know them, rather than sort of, as you said, as a comparison to the first and last. But I'm also aware that we experience time, linearly, and at least my perception in the moment, whether or not it's justified or not, is going to be, if that was the last thing I said to somebody, or the last engagement I had with somebody was incredibly negative, I think I'd have a very hard time shrugging that off if it did end up being the last time for some horrible, unforeseen circumstances. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think the experience and the reflection that you would have to have after the fact of something so terrible would be very difficult to embrace. Even if I can appreciate what you're saying objectively, it shouldn't hold any more weight.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I feel like that would almost certainly be the case for me as well. But I have let's see, my one of my own philosophies for myself. This is a more recent one, actually. All things are good things. Regardless of something bad happens to you, there are still good things that will come from it.
Okay.
That's a hard one to accept. It's a challenge. A challenge I go through every single day to try and accept that one. It's a philosophy that I don't accept it all the time, but I've tried to. But once you can see that, you can I remember I met someone, and whenever I said that to them, they said, "All right, yeah, well, then how is my grandma dying a good thing?" I said, "Well, you remember them, right?"
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. It was.
I can see it.
It's that good things. You still have the memories of them. You still have the experience of them. They live on a little bit within you, right? It's not. It's not only bad that they're physically gone, so to speak. They still live on within you in that way.
I think that's one that, if you're being honest with yourself, you can probably reconcile that the causal chains of most things probably will at some point culminate in a good in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, in individual cases, that might be hard to do.
It's very
pill to
hard.
swallow. Yeah, and of course, I think that's where compassion comes in as well, right? Like, you wouldn't want to say that to somebody who had just experienced a horrible trauma.
Oh, of course not.
Later
Yeah.
down the line, it might be more prudent to say, or to highlight. It's like scars are always there, but it doesn't mean they haven't healed, and you can have those conversations with people at a later date.
Yeah, I would say so. Well, I try not to force my philosophy on other people. In this sense, not even force isn't the right word. I usually don't explain it unless the topic comes up, so to speak, in a more natural fashion. Because I don't expect other people to follow my philosophy. It's a philosophy for myself. It's not meant for others to. Maybe it is meant for others as well, but at least for the way I created it for myself, it's something that rules for myself. The structure with which I act, and so in that sense, I don't judge others with it.
I mean, if you can develop something in your own personal philosophy that is internally coherent, and at least to what you believe, approaching something that is good or desirable, or at the very least not bad, I think sharing that with people in compassionate and thoughtful ways, and communicating it in a way they'd be able to understand, isn't a bad thing either. It's not like some overzealous religious dogma being just thrown at somebody. It's more of a way of understanding and approaching things. So with your everything is always good, or however you worded it, or everything is good. Let's say, if you could pick.
All things are good
a
things.
Horrible example. Yeah, all things are good. You could pick horrible examples of the existence of malaria, but over time be able to point to the fact that as a collective people, we slowly work towards cures and elevating people out of that, and bringing people together, and you can just finagle negatives into positives,
justify
by just
the
looking
different
at them in different lights. Yeah.
There's also
carjacked and officers got hurt, but then we ended up making friends, and so there's a good thing that came out of something that didn't seem like a good thing.
This is more of a sadder story. This is one my brother told me about. There was an officer. His name was Officer Love, and he was giving what's it called? When the for like interested people who might be want to be cops. He was giving like a meeting for those. I think I forget the word for it, presentation sort of thing. And he had like this really like gruff voice, like you know, my name's Officer Love, and you know, this sort of thing like that. And what the story told was that his whenever he thought that you know, being a cop, all he needed to do to help people was just to, you know, be able to shoot and be able to tase them or whatever, or just like, you know, handle stop them like physically in some form. And he ended up coming to a situation where there had been a bus overturned, and there was a little boy who was bleeding out, and there was a bunch of other people who were also suffering varying levels of injuries. And at that point in time, he wasn't able to do anything with, you know, with just like the gun he had, or with his hands, so to speak, because he didn't know how to. And ever since then, he's now the leader of the what's called the like medical division of the police there. And he has that boy ended up dying, sadly, but that ended up invigorating him to try and make sure that never happened ever again. And so he's gone out of his way to teach everybody, teach like all the police officers how to do the basic forms of medical training, and how to like apply tourniquets, how to what are they called, the halo seals as well, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that now, actually, because I just had a conversation with a trooper at the PD. That this is like, I was the person you're representing. I was there, and gave medical attention again to another trooper, and I said to the other trooper, like, it would actually, I might like reach out to the hospital and see if they have like first aid classes for civilians and stuff, because, you know, I know the basics, right? I know bleeding wound bad, put pressure on it, you know, apply towels, clothes, something to try and block and clot the blooding. But I mean, like, I know how to do CPR in the sense that I've watched movies, but I've never actually done it, right? I sort of, you know, could probably figure out a recovery position based on what I know about, you know, gravity, the tongue, and the airway, but I don't really know how to do it, particularly in a high stress situation.
Yeah,
I think it would be really cool to if SAMs did have a sort of civilian focused first aid thing, especially as it seems to be that Darla's my partner in the police force. She gets very grumpy at me because I mean, as you saw my reaction to shooting somebody and how long it took me to even shoot, I am a very non-violent person, and to have to do something violent was quite a shock to my system. But despite that, I don't know if it's lack of strength or desire to get out there and start swinging on people or shooting people, I have a very weird habit of running directly at gunshots to provide medical attention to people. And I think that is in part spurred by the fact that the amount of times in this city in just the past month, let's say, I've seen people bleeding out, dying, and just have like 15 onlookers, just mouth open, not doing anything, not calling EMS. Yeah, I've given a lot of first aid, and it seems to be working, but I would like to be able to be in what I know from common sense and movies. But yeah, no, it's just interesting that you said that, based on the fact that I just had a discussion with a trooper about looking into first aid opportunities and lessons.
I guess that'd be actually pretty interesting. Like, I doubt, yeah, the police officers here probably don't know. Well, I've seen actually a fair amount of police officers who do know first aid.
Yeah.
I can see that could be a useful thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's something I've been thinking about in general. I just generally am. People mean a lot to me, and before I joined the DA's office, I was actually approached by Falcone to be a founding member in his law firm, and it was quite funny actually. In a 5-minute period, I had 2 job offers.
That's funny. Right.
Yeah.
Always come all at once, right?
Yeah, and I turned Falcone down. It wasn't even a question in my mind, because they are all about retainer fees and making money out of it, and for me, that's not what I'm interested in law for. And I don't like the idea of monetizing people's need for representation, particularly criminal legal representation. simply based on the fact that the primary driver of all crime is socioeconomic status. And so to me, it just feels like it makes me uncomfortable.
Is that the primary driver?
Even when I was a defense attorney, I didn't charge for anything. And if people offered me money, I would say, you give me this money, I'm just going to go donate it to the hobo embassy or to some people who need money for food. And so, yeah, people are very important to me. And as much as possible, I like people to be treated as ends rather than means to an end. I've actually had a little bit of a small fight with my partner over my views on like CIs and stuff.
Okay.
And so, yeah, no, it's
You believe
it's something. Go on.
you believe social economic factors be the what's called the #1 cause for crime?
Yeah. Poverty seems to drive almost everything.
It's relative poverty in the sense that if everyone's poor, there isn't much crime. If everyone's rich, there isn't much crime. But if there's if there's rich people and there's poor people, that's when crime starts to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The inequality seems more of an issue than the poverty itself per se. Look to, well, as you said, look to very poor countries and communities, and they tend to have a stronger sense of camaraderie around each other, and thus no coveting, let's say.
Yeah, envy is one of the most toxic emotions. It's the only emotion I feel that is like it only brings like bad things in the world, right? There's no so like anger, you can have like righteous anger. You can change things for the better because of your anger. Sadness, sadness can be a way of accepting loss in some form. It's a way of bonding with others. It's a way of reflecting on the past. But with envy, there's nothing like that. It's just there to take.
Yeah.
It's a strange one, that's for sure.
I'll try and think about counterexamples, but nothing's coming to my mind right
Yeah,
now.
right? It's one of the only emotion that's, I feel that it's only negative.
Yeah, I think the only way you could construe envy in a positive way would be to say something like it drives you to do something yourself to achieve what you're envying. But then there's very easy arguments against that as well, primarily being that any other emotion could drive that without the negative externalities of envy.
Well,
and
I think
is what you're searching for really what you want if it's based on envy and not something more I don't know what the word would be, but yeah, that's what I think.
I feel like envy requires a component of saying that the other person doesn't deserve what they have, that you deserve it, right? It's a matter of thinking that it's a matter of wanting it for yourself, but at the same time saying that other person shouldn't have it. Why not just have it for yourself, and why not have the other person have it for themselves too? Why would it matter whether or not they have it as well?
Yeah, no, I think
there's no reason for that other than just like hatred, so to speak, or like that envious emotion, like they don't deserve it in some form. It's a very negative, hateful thing.
Yeah. And I guess if you can articulate a good reason for why the person shouldn't have the thing, then it's probably not based on envy, it's based on some other injustice.
Well, or if you can just articulate it, if you could just justify your envy in some form, but yeah, like you said.
Yeah. So, you see just a slave owner, let's just go for a very easy and obvious one, and they've accumulated an incredible amount of wealth and nice things, and you're looking at them thinking, I wish I had nice things. You're not the desire for nice things isn't coming from envy there. Well, it might do, but you can point to
that's more
something
greed, right?
You can point to something else to justify why they shouldn't have it, and perhaps not why you should, but certainly at the very least why they shouldn't. So yeah, no, I think you might be right there. Every time I'm thinking of potential counterexamples and then being like, actually, no, I can see a better way to argue that doesn't fall into other traps.
I have thought about it. Yeah, I've thought about it like fairly in depth in regard. I was trying to think of any possible examples for envy. The only thing I could maybe think of is if you could justify that only helping yourself is a good thing, then that's the only time envy would be like useful. But I don't. That's a strong philosophy to take. That's like the hedonistic philosophy. It's and even that, is envy a positive emotion? In that sense, I wouldn't really call it a positive emotion. I wouldn't say it's a good thing. Like it feels good to feel envy, right? And so for that reason, I don't think it would follow even the hedonistic philosophy.
Yeah, no. And now the more I think about it myself as well, the sense that I mentioned about envy potentially being positive if it could be said to aspire you to do something would crumble for what you've already said as well, right? It would be it would require taking the sort of resentfulness aspect out of the definition of envy.
Yeah. In that case, I think it would just be jealousy, right, or in some form.
Yeah.
Jealousy is not nearly as toxic as envy. It's still pretty toxic, but it's not at the same level as envy. Well, jealousy, what's really the difference? I think the biggest difference is whether or not you believe they... Jealousy is usually used for whenever it's human things that you are, like, greeting, so to speak, rather than, like, physical or, like, objects.
Yeah. I mean,
like power, that would be a good example of it, yeah.
I try not to get jealous.
I mean, I can understand. I personally, I'm not sure I've ever felt envy, honestly. It's not really something I don't have any memories of feeling it, at least. And so it's very strange emotion to me. I'm not sure exactly why others have feelings like that.
Well, if it's based on some resentment or some idea that the other person doesn't deserve it, it probably is predicated. It would have to be predicated on just complete lack of understanding and ignorance. So I think you could not justify, but you could rationalize, say, like, why a young child would be envious of another child having a new games console, for instance. But I think the older you get, and what would the word be? Not more intelligent. I don't think that's the right word. Yeah, the wiser you get, then envy seems like it would have to be predicated on some, as you said, idea or notion that the other person didn't deserve it or were lesser, or and then you start getting into kind of bad things in the sense, again, like, this person doesn't deserve this because of how they are, or their religion, or the color of their skin, or their sex, or their sexuality, etc.
Now you try to justify it.
Yeah, and then you're trying to justify it with things that are, at least in my opinion, unjustifiable.
Prejudicial, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can... Well, I'm not even sure if this... Would this be a should? I don't think there are things that can justify causing suffering. Well, there are things for sure, because, there is, like, the parents with the physical punishment sort of thing, but I don't do those things, so to speak. You could justify...
Are trolley problems examples of inflicting suffering or minimizing suffering? Because that's a big debate in general, isn't it? I'm on the side of minimizing, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you could argue that you're minimizing suffering by ending any continued suffering they might have from living, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of strange arguments like that, right? Yeah.
Getting very meta then, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's a meta ethics.
Isn't it just the you were talking about earlier, right? The regarding it earlier, whether or not someone born into the world would be the cause suffering. In that case, if you were to end people before they could experience more suffering, that's a strong argument to have. But it's rather than not creating things, you'd be intentionally destroying to lessen suffering. It's the full extremist accelerationist philosophy, right?
Yeah. The people that would press the big red button.
Yeah, absolutely. I realize what I said was suffering, but I think what I meant is evil, though. Because, evil would be the exception. Evil, like, involves suffering, but suffering by itself is not a bad thing. So, yeah, evil would be the thing. I don't think you can ever justify evil.
And evil for you is human-centric, right? You wouldn't consider, like, natural disasters or the existence of, insects whose sole purpose is to, like, burrow into the eyes of other animals. You don't consider that suffering, or evil, sorry, or do you have, like, another framework for?
No, I wouldn't think that would be the case. Well, the only animals I think that might be, like, capable of evil would be, like, stuff like dolphins, because they definitely do some very, very nonsensical things. Those dolphins.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. I've not looked into it too much, but I've got a couple of friends who just assure me that dolphins are assholes, or dolphins can and sometimes are assholes.
More than that, Dolphins are very intelligent, and so for that reason, I think they are capable of understanding what they are doing is hurting someone else. And so for that reason, I think that they can do evil things, and do often do those evil things.
Fucking dolphins is what I'm hearing. Fuck all dolphins.
Well, I mean, they're very intelligent creatures. Yeah. Yeah. But for animals, yeah, animals, if they're just acting based on instincts, no, I don't think that's something that's evil. It requires some level of, what do you say, sapience, or like to be able to act in like an evil manner. Like it requires like intent and understanding that others can experience suffering, and that others are different from you. And a lot of animals actually can't perceive those things.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentience sapience distinction as well. I say sapience to a lot of people, and they equivocate it with sentience.
I know I know I've researched at one point in time what the difference was, but I do remember sapience was used for animals basically, and sentience was used for like human intelligence, I believe. I think.
Other way around, broadly speaking. So sentience is just the sort of the capacity to like experience things and feel things and perceive things and things like that subjectively, you know, to feel pain and pleasure and stuff. But sapience is like the ability to take that to another level. So the ability to think and reason and possess wisdom and to reflect.
Yeah, see cause and effect. Okay.
All right. So yes, it's sentience then sapience in terms of like higher order functioning.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so a dog is sentient, but it may not be sapient. That's a poor example, because dogs may be.
Dogs have a lot of interesting characteristics. They're one of the only animals that have a conscientiousness instincts. And that, like, you know how sheepdogs, they have like an urge to work and like an urge to herd, so to speak.
Yeah.
And we bred that into them. The only other animals that exhibit stuff like that are humans.
One that I love, because one of my favorite animals, and it's one that gets very negative responses when I tell people this, is rats. I love rats. Fancy rats, of course, but, you know, domesticated rats. And rats will forego a reward or a beneficial treatment to free a predator from suffering or entrapment, which I just think is incredible.
Like something that would like actually like eat them?
Yeah. So they tested it on snakes and birds. Like if you trap a snake or a bird, or you subject it to pain, and next to it you give a rat an opportunity to, you know, press a button and get food, or press a button and release the predator, they will often go and release the predator instead.
Interesting. I haven't heard that before. It's a very interesting one. I know they were recently doing experiments on rats, and they discovered a genetic memory, where that after I think 3 generations, the citrus thing, where the rats instinctively avoided the smell of citrus. That's true for rats. That almost certainly means it's true for humans as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I know we have instinctive memories in the form of fears, almost for certain. That's a lot of people will have like this fears that they have no idea where they came from, or they can even like experience like trauma even from things that haven't happened to them because of certain things like that. You know, like spiders could cause like serious trauma to a person because even though they've never actually experienced anything with spiders.
Yeah. I think the only thing I'm actually afraid of is heights. Only in certain contexts too. Like I'll get on a plane, no problem, but for some reason you can't get my ass on a helicopter. I'll start fucking trembling. My knees will go weak.
I'm a little bit afraid of heights, but I have a weird one. I guess a phobia because it's irrational. Where whenever I have like a fear of like something malicious chasing me, like something that's like trying to like hurt me in some way. It's a very strange one. So if I ever try to play like horror video games, I'll just end up like shaking uncontrollably. Like even though I'm like intentionally trying to play the game, even though like I'm like I understand like what I'm getting into, I won't be able to like stop myself from like shaking whenever the monster starts like chasing me or whatnot. Like why? Very strange.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting too because like I don't watch horror movies as a general rule. Not because I don't like, or not because I'm afraid of horror movies, but more I just find them incredibly boring and predictable. There's very few like horror movies that I'll actually enjoy. They'd ordinarily have to be like some sort of psychological horror movie where the suspension of belief isn't harmed because it's sort of a mind fuck instead.
Yeah, no,
That
I mean,
aside, I really struggle with horror games. The fact of actually being inserted into them, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
freaks you out. That's always the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard like horror
But
games
movies,
in VR.
I can fall asleep to horror movies, but horror games, I turn into like a trembling baby.
For me, it happens sometimes with movies, but more often than not, it mainly just happens with if I try to play a horror video game, even though I really want to. Even though I really want to.
Oh, yeah. People always tell me like Outlast is a great game. Like, yeah, I tried. I got like 7 minutes in and then gave up.
I tried. I think I tried multiple times to play that game, but I'd always end up freaking out whenever the monster chasing me. I won't be able to get past that part because I would. Would freak me out so much.
Yeah.
What's really funny to me though is that whenever I realize like that the thing isn't as like bad as it seems, or like there's ways to deal with it, I'll stop being scared of it, but it won't stop the continued fear of like of malicious things chasing me. So like if it's like if I've learned how to like defeat an enemy, like I've played Subnautica, and whenever you see like the Reaper Leviathans or whatever, they're all freaky and scary at first, but like then once you know how to deal with them, you're like, wait, these aren't so scary, and like you lose that fear of them, or I lose that fear of them. But it's the instinctive. You know what's the term? The whenever you expose yourself to a fear, over time and like to get used to something, exposure therapy. That's the term, yeah. That doesn't really work on me because I'll just get used to that single thing rather than the fear itself. Sort of, it's weird.
Yeah, I can feel that. I think it depends, right? So at least in the context of video games, you have more control than you ordinarily would outside of a video game world. So I sort of know the feeling too, right? You play a game, this thing seems absolutely terrifying, but then the second you find out that if you very cleverly jump up on this box, it can't hit you anymore and you can just kick its ass, the fear of it is gone because it no longer presents a threat to you.
Yeah.
But that's only going to happen in video game world.
Well, you no longer need to fear something. I wouldn't.
Sorry.
Oh, you said we're not going to need to fear something. I will. There are ways, like if, for instance, if you were to wear like armor, you probably wouldn't need to fear too much whether like a rabid animal was attacking you, depending on the size of it.
Maybe. You watched the new Fallout TV show?
Oh, I haven't. I heard it was pretty good though.
Well, let's just say power armor doesn't stop a bear.
Power armor of all things? I'm pretty sure power armor should stop a bear.
It didn't.
Huh. Because I'm pretty sure like just normal like plate armor would stop a bear. Like that wouldn't like. I mean, I guess it could be like crushed to some degree, but like it wouldn't.
I don't know. That's my challenge to you. Go and don yourself some steel plate armor and pick a fight with a bear.
Well, I know there's things like divers that clean shark tanks and whatnot. They'll wear chainmail diving suits for the reason that sharks can't pierce through them. But the fact that they even have to do that, that's kind of that must be really spooky, right? Like, that's probably would still be really painful to get bitten by a shark, but
yeah,
it wouldn't
it's like a bulletproof vest, right? Still fucking hurts like hell if you get shot. I've heard.
Yeah, these really bad bruising and all that.
Yeah.
So it's So even if you do have a way to like protect, per se, from like a what do you call that, like a permanent injury, there's still you can still feel certain levels of fear that you may not have felt even with the thing. I'm not sure what I'm talking about anymore. All right. Yeah, saying words.
Well, yeah. Well, no. This conversation ended up going in a whole bunch of different directions, and I absolutely appreciate it, and I'm all for it. But yeah, it is quite bizarre.
I'm really good at that. I don't know why. This is I'll drag people down different what do you call that? Tangents.
I mean, I'm all for it as well. I like being able to engage with people like this. It's not that other conversations are lesser, but I feel like you can get to know somebody at a whole different level when you really get to pick their brain on things like this.
No, I'd say I agree with that. Yeah. Only thing I might, Yeah, you get to see like their more internal philosophy and their internal thoughts, and whether or not they've actually considered stuff like this in the first place as well. And that's I know a lot of people. Remember seeing this video? It's like, is there anything scarier than just being alone with your thoughts? And they're like, no. It's like, I'm like, what? I don't understand what's scary about that. It feels like a very strange thing to be scared of. So I mean, whenever I would not so much anymore, but I would often go spend probably like an hour every day or two just kind of like existing and like just thinking about different things. But that wasn't really intentional. That was more a result of I have this weird thing where whenever I try and like read a new book or something like that, that this it'll take me like a good hour to be able to get past the first paragraph. It's very strange. And during that time, I would just think about things.
Oh, I see.
Wait, have anything like that?
What was that? Sorry.
You have anything like that?
I struggle to get started on things like that in general, unless I have like deadlines. But once I get started, I get ingrained in things really, really easily, and then struggle to stop. So I guess mine would be more of an easily distracted thing, rather than like a tendency to get lost in things prior to what I'm trying to do. But I do value my own time and my own thoughts. I'm not somebody that I think on balance, I'm not somebody that needs other people around me a lot, or rather, I do need people around me, but I value the quality of the engagement rather than the quantity. I don't really enjoy like huge, large social gatherings. I'd rather be with just a couple of people I really enjoy.
Yeah, I very much so feel the same way. But maybe for different reasons. So I myself, I have an autism diagnosis, and I'm not sure if this is relevant to that, but I tend to feel really, really overwhelmed in big crowds, for reasons that I think I have an understanding of, but it's like subconsciously that when I'm with one person, I try and like think about like the different things that I can say, or not just this, the different things that like are okay to say, the different things that might like offend them, different things that they might care about them, different things they might value, just how they might respond to certain things, or whether or not they care about this thing or that thing. I think about all that, and as soon as there's 2 people, now I have to do that twice. And if there's 3 people, now I have to do it 3 times, and 3 times is about my limit. Once it gets to 4, then it starts to break down a bit, and I starts to get too overwhelming. And the more people there are, the more overwhelming it gets. And what's going on? I have to. Best way I can describe it, it's like when you have magnets and you reverse them, how they kind of like push against each other like that. It feels like that for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I can understand. Like you feel like you're not forced. Like it just sounds more like something is compelling you to feel like you have to consider things, or your mind wants you to consider things that you probably don't need to, but you've got this constant running calculus in your brain of things that need to be done, or things that need to be avoided. And the more people that is, the more of a burden that is on you to be able to function with them.
For that, I think it's not something that's conscious is the thing. So even if I try to not do it, it's not something I could just consciously decide not to do. It's just something I do. Like, this is how I understand things. Like,
Gotcha.
So I've noticed that other people, they tend to compare themselves to others. Like, this is just something they just do. That is not something I do. I don't do that instinctually. I can, like, train myself to do it, but it's not something that I will do by nature.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder that if I'm comparing myself to people in situations, because the reason I struggle in larger groups is, like, it's weird. I'm, like, somehow simultaneously incredibly confident and have no confidence at all. You put me in a small group of people, even if I don't know them, I can absolutely thrive. You put me in a larger group, and it just feels like I'm self-inserting into other people's things, even if I know consciously as well that there's no reason for me to feel that. It's like just something I can't, like a thought that I can't turn off. And I wonder if there is sort of an overt comparison being made, or worry of being judged or something. I don't know.
What do you mean by a self-insert yourself into things?
So if there's like a huge event going on and a whole bunch of people and everybody's chatting and having fun, to me it feels like approaching them and being part of that is like I'm being a burden, or I'm
that's a strange thing.
Invading their things. Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily has to do with that's more to do with your like self-esteem, and I would probably
Perhaps, yeah.
call that some form of like an inferiority complex to a degree.
Yeah, but it's just weird because you can take the same group of people in terms of like sample of people, like the types of people, and cut it in half, and then I'm absolutely happy to go and engage with them and be very, very confident. But the larger the sample, even if the sample is general, that fades. I don't know. It's weird.
I'm
working on it though. I'm getting better.
That's good.
Court will help, I think, being up in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I learned that I can say whatever I want and people have to listen. Once I realized that, it became easy. Yeah.
Oh dear. All right. Well, I think our service is going to get spotty in a
Oh,
second
yeah,
because the storm's rolling through.
All right, I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. I will. I've got a couple things to do, but it was good to chat with you for sure.
Yeah, good talking. Oh, there we go. Okay, that went on for longer than I thought I would. People are still even watching our very, very in-depth conversation. Let's see. Let's see. I'll get back on for a little bit because I still need to move my car and whatnot. But then I'll probably end the stream there. I have to wait. I'm gonna actually wait. Be right back soon. I almost forgot. Temporary visual. Go temporary visual. Yeah, I very much so enjoy having the more in-depth conversations that I can drag people into. Now we got into talking about philosophy. What's this? The facing something? What? Someone pinging me? That's funny. Yeah, that went on for a moment. And of course that. Let me see. Server restart should be good now to come back on. I know it acts weird if I get back on too soon. I'm gonna delete all my stuff from my vehicle. You already did that. Deleted so much work. Yeah, well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Not too often you get to... Let's see, when was the last time I had a conversation like that? It's been a while, I feel like. I think last time was with... was with Penny, and that was like a month ago-ish? That was a while back. Like a month and a half, maybe. Yeah, I remember that, actually. That was maybe 2 months ago, even. All meat. There we go. I know. People tend to be fairly active in like the Discord and whatnot. I'm like, I just don't usually bother with it too much. Not for any reason in particular, but I feel like, it feels a lot less, it feels weird for other people to be seeing everything you're saying to people, for me at least. I mean, I'm streaming, so I feel like that shouldn't actually be the case now I think about it. Is it really that weird now I think about it? Huh, isn't that basically the equivalent of streaming? Huh, wait, isn't it that weird? Thinking. I'm trying to justify it, but... Okay. Car? Where's my car? Oh, do I have to log out again? Alright, let me log out again. Guess I got in too soon somehow. Alright, I'm very visual again. Hmm. Hmm. Did I? I don't think I ever disconnected, right? So I was on duty the whole time. Yeah, I was on duty the whole time. Okay, good, good. Sometimes I forget. All right. All right. Now we should. There we go. Don't know why it does that. It's weird. Oh. It's red again. Or it's red now. Interesting. There we go. Cool. Oh, there we go. And these cars. Okay, I did think that was like the person's driving a bit strange for a local. Hey, why does my car have 52,000 miles on it? I don't remember having that much. The gas prices changed on update? They do. Interesting. Yeah, because that was previously $9. All right. Let's see. Oh, should we have called a hearing back? Is that something you're supposed to be doing? I don't. All right, let's park the car. Okay. Okay. Looks so empty here. All right. All right. How long we stream for? Like 3-ish hours today. Yeah, 3.5 hours. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. Let me do the. Where's the ending? Oh, did I forget to? Oh, oops. I had that on. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the ending recap. No, what else happened? Oh wait, we have the good ending recap. That's right. We have the new thing as well. The ending soon thing or whatever. Okay. All right. Do we have okay? Oh, the invoice. I need to remember to do that. Let me do that. Going with the rest of the papers. Good, good. All right. Let's see that like this. There we go. Wait, you guys. This one or this one? Yeah, with this one as well. This one might be better, honestly. We'll go with the newer one. I kind of like this one. All right. Let's see. What has happened today? Today we had a setup for the one person, and they're like, yeah, he was there at the place, so he's getting encompass everything. That's not how that works. That's really is not how that works. Very much so. That's not how that works. And so we told him to plead not guilty. We told him to call the lawyer line as well, but he never did that. As for the then I think we just talked with Harvey for a good long while. Oh yeah, we also met that the girl out front, the PD. We didn't really talk to her. I wanted to, and I probably should have, but I was like, wait, I'm already leaving though. wait, why did I do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just whenever I exit the PD, I'm like, okay, time to leave the PD. I'm like, wait, I can stay here and RP people. I forgot about that for a second. Whoops. And I'm like, wait, if I turn back now, it's weird though, but I was overthinking it probably. Or no, I definitely was overthinking it. But let's go. We ended up talking to Harry for a good long while, good 2 hours. Was not expecting that. That was good. We got to know each other quite a bit more. Got to exchange different ideas. Got to see different perspectives. I don't really have like a book learning sort of way of or like knowledge. Mine is more well, I mean, I do read a ton of books, but not like I read fiction. I don't really usually read non-fiction, that kind of books. If it's fiction books, though, I've read thousands and thousands. For one of the things that my idea of like philosophy and all that I want, that's all something I've created for myself, though. To help understand why I do things and to help structure what I consider to be acceptable and not acceptable for myself. Rules for myself. I know, so I forgot to mention this actually with Harry. I want to talk about this. There's a bunch of people like Jung and all that, I believe something like that, at least I've heard, that say that it's impossible for someone to create like morals themselves, like a moral philosophy themselves. And I don't really think that is true. I mean, at least I'm trying to do so. Not sure how much I'm succeeding, but I'm trying to, at least. Like, you know, how do you create morals for yourself? Is there ways to do that outside of like religious connotations or like sort of thing? Can you like truly justify everything? I think I can get pretty close. Like I think I'm pretty close with my definition of evil and all that. But yeah, that's about what happened. We talked with Harry a lot, and we had Sarah up and got to talk with the old guy. That was funny. All right, so this is a short stream today. I might stream a bit later, and we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for sticking around. I appreciate you. I really do. And remember, life is